What's up, Tyler?
What's up, man?
You good?
I'm good.
It's very nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Josh, how are you?
I'm great.
I gotta tell you guys.
Josh,
yeah,
Tyler.
everybody.
Good to meet you, man.
Everybody, can
Great
we
to meet you.
let's do a group hug real quick.
Group side hug?
Dude,
Are we connecting it or no?
We'll connect.
Okay.
I'm already connected. I
All
can't
right.
connect anymore.
Yeah.
You guys are stretching me out. I saw you guys in 2015. It was the first show I saw you guys. Yeah. And I knew your music. I liked your music, but I'd never seen you live. And my wife had seen you live. And she said, just wait till you see 21 Pilots. And I was like, yeah, wait till I see 21 Pilots. Now, keep in mind, my wife and I, we go all over the place watching bands all the time. And I've seen so many bands in my life. So I'm like, yeah. And then I got into the arena, and I saw everybody with 21 Pilots shirts on. And I thought, there's something different going on here. There was a different energy. There was a different vibe to what I felt like was going to happen. And then you guys hit the stage, and I just remember going, and this is my hand to God. I compare you guys to, I told my wife when we got done, I said, I've seen Nine Inch Nails, Foo Fighters, I've seen Rolling Stones that year. I mean, it was just, you guys are in my top 5.
Oh, wow.
And listen, I'm not trying to kiss your ass. I'm not trying to, I just want to express to you,
Thank you so
how
much.
impressed I was at just the sheer musicality you guys have.
Thank you.
The way you put stuff together. How freaking in shape you guys are. That's one thing. No, seriously, that's the one thing. And I walked out of the concert, literally, for 45 minutes, I just couldn't wrap my head around what I had just seen.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been trying to tell everybody all week on 93.3 FLZ. I'm like, if you've never seen 21 Pilots live before, it's an experience that you're not going to really comprehend for like an hour after the show. For me, I was just like, and my wife's favorite thing was seeing my reaction to you guys on stage and everything you did. How in the hell do you stay so... How do you sing and not get out of breath with the amount of movement do you do? Do you guys train? Do you have a regimen? Or is it just strictly adrenaline? Or is it something that... Because I know you guys started in Columbus, Ohio. I'm from Parkersburg, West Virginia, so I'm really familiar with Columbus and High Street and all those bars and everything.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you guys have been doing it so long. Is it just something you worked yourself into as far as, like, getting in shape to be on stage like that and go that hard for that long?
I mean, when you start out, you're not playing 2 hours because no one wants to watch a band that they don't play for 2 hours.
Right.
So we play for, 20 minutes or whatever, 30 minutes, and then a few years later, 35 minutes, and a few years later, maybe 45, an hour, and then you do a headline, you do like maybe an hour, because that's how many songs you have that people may know, and so then it just slowly builds, and now we're doing 2 hours, and vocally, I've learned a lot over the years of, how much I can take, talking during the day, just, how much I've got. I mean, Josh could probably go into detail about just conserving energy over the course of a show, but it really is something you learn just by doing it a lot. It's funny, like I can't drink water or anything during a show because I don't know if anyone ever realizes, but anytime you drink anything, there's always like these little mini burps that you'll do during the day.
There's vocal, like...
Yeah. After you drink something, but you don't think anything of it. But when you're into a microphone with all those people and you're rapping for the whole 2 hours, it's just something I go, I can't. I'm thirsty, but I can't drink because I'll burp into the microphone.
I saw you jump up onto a piano, do a backflip off, and it was at a point in a song where it was like a big D crescendo, and it just went to you on the mic, nothing else behind you. And I looked at my wife, and I'm like, he's not breathing hard. There wasn't that. Because when you see people live and they're...
Yeah.
There wasn't
I
any
hate
of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, see?
No, I'm very aware of that.
Yeah, that's what I
for
thought.
Sure.
I was like, he's thinking about this.
Yeah.
I don't know, do you ever get in those situations where you're like, oh my God, I just want to take a deep breath, but I'm not. I gotta hold
you have
myself
no
back.
idea. It's the whole, you can get a face where you look like you're totally collected when really your brain's just like...
Take a freaking breath!
You gotta get that oxygen.
Josh, you on the other hand are a very technical player, but you play extremely hard, which I appreciate. I think you hit the hell out of the drums. But technically, you're a very, very technical drummer.
Thank you.
I've noticed it. Did you take lessons? Did you pick it up? Do you follow certain drummers, or is it just you learned this much and then kind of developed your own style about it?
I think, thank you. I don't consider myself a very technical drummer. I try to, but I think more, and this is like embarrassing to say in front of musicians, but my philosophy, I always kind of looked at somebody like my youngest sister, and if I sat her down and showed her kind of like the most like technical drummers in the world, I think that she would think that's really cool, but I don't know if she'd necessarily be inspired to pursue kind of her own thing. So my goal was to always kind of play in a way that could have my youngest sister look at and say, I want to not even play drums, but I want to pursue my own kind of art or craft, and that's kind of how I looked at that. And I think also it was something that was a time in my life where there was kind of like some anxiety or like weird stuff that just playing really hard helped me to kind of get rid of. It was kind of a therapy type thing that I looked at more than even just being like, how can I be as technical as I can?
Right.
And that always has been very helped. Music and drums has always been that for me. And I think since then, and as I played, I try to get better every day and get more technical. But before anything, I look at it as a feeling thing more than that. So like when we're playing or when we're like even just kind of like messing around with stuff, I kind of like, I'll do what feels really good and then kind of like hone it from there a little bit, or he'll kind of just be like, try this, or
you guys, take me through the process of how you write, because it does come through with the energy on stage, and you guys are like a machine on stage. But what's the process of writing for you? Do you have a certain way that you like to write? Do you have a certain place where you feel more comfortable writing and coming up with ideas, or do you guys do it as a collaboration, or do you just go away from each other for a while and then just come back and go, hey, I got this idea?
I think it's very. I've never really co-written with anyone, as far as like some people, especially once you start dipping into the pop world, they just throw some people in a room and it's like this, let's just see what happens, and it's really cool because you can connect with. I mean, playing music with someone is this almost magical thing where you have this level of I don't know, intimacy with, and it's really cool. And Josh and I definitely have that. As far as working with other songwriters and stuff, it's I can't show them. I can't have them in the room. I mean, I don't know. It's like I don't want
show them your tricks.
Well, yeah. I mean, like when you're finding a song and you're feeling it out, you sound ridiculous. You know?
Of course.
So it's really hard to do with other people in the room or other people around.
Because when you're writing, you probably do the thing where you just sing words that aren't words.
It's definitely it comes a couple different ways. You can either have lyrics and you're trying to fit them, and obviously, that's a process, or you've got the music and then you're trying to come up with lyrics.
Right.
Both of those ways can be embarrassing to witness.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, it's definitely like a closed-in moment where I have to just really block everything out.
And then he writes this, brings it to you, and goes, "What do you think about it? What are you going to do with this?"
Yeah, I mean the live aspect for us. A lot of artists, songwriters, bands. They'll make music, and then they'll stop and then turn on a completely different switch and go, okay, now how do we do this live? For us, the songwriting process and the creative process is in step with the question, how do we do this live? It happens at the same time. So whether it's transposing the song down to play easier in a certain instrument, or changing the BPM because we know that a human jumps at a certain BPM naturally, or the structurally, like we want this part of the song, we really feel like we're lacking blank in our live set, so let's make this song be that for us. So the live show is really considered when writing songs.
See, and that's the thing, that's the magic, that's the work that you guys put in, and that leads me to my next question. I know you guys started in Columbus, and I read this story, and I don't know if it's true, because there's a lot of stories out there, but this one was fascinating to me, that when you guys first started, did you seriously go around to people's houses and drop off tickets to your shows? Like back in the day, like it was just back when everybody had flip phones and they would text you their address and stuff. And
I mean, I still have.
You do? Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, if you looked in my F section of my contacts, there's like fan, like, because I didn't know them, but they reached out and wanted to go to a show, and I would just meet them, like just all these.
Oh, that's amazing.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it says fan, and then it's got a name next to it.
Yeah, and not to be like degrading. Like they're just a fan, and then
Yeah, no. But everybody's got a code you put in your phone.
It was hard to keep track of who was who at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you guys did that.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
My mom did it. Our moms would just hustle too.
Really?
Yeah.
Your moms were all involved?
I think they still try to get people to come to our shows. And
we're like, hey,
it's like we're good.
You don't
now.
have to do
Yeah. Mom, we're good now. Do you guys? What was it like? Because all the grind and all the work and all the shows and all just the building up and building up. Do you remember that moment where it clicked and you went, oh my God, everybody's getting it, and it kind of went boom. What did that feel like when it went whew? And because there's a lot of people that know your music and hear certain songs from 21 Pilots and they think, oh, you guys are overnight. It was an overnight thing. And it wasn't an overnight thing. You guys have been doing this for years. It was a hard road. It was like you learning experience after learning experience after learning experience. But when it all went boom and it went to that next level, what was that like? And was it almost overwhelming? And was it hard to handle? What kind of went through your mind? I know that's a long question.
I think there's a few things involved, and one is that I think that we've kind of realized that there's not a lot of things that are just happen overnight, and it seems like it sometimes where a band or an artist will come out of nowhere and you're just like, that just happened all of a sudden, but we kind of realized there was probably some work behind that.
Right.
And I think that some people might look at this band as something that's happened overnight, but for a while now we've been working really hard to develop this, and we've been on the road pretty much for like 5 or 6 years straight. And I think that another thing is when we first met, before we even played music together, I think that we kind of just had pretty big visions and dreams for what it could turn into. We didn't want it to have a ceiling. That way it could go as far as it could. And but we've been so close to it the whole time. So every step of the way, as it's grown, we've felt that that's for the most part a natural progression. And people think that they come to a show at an arena like tonight that we've been doing that
right
since we
day
started.
one.
Yeah. Right. We really started in Tampa. We started playing small clubs, and we did like a music festival. We played at 11 a.m. and then we've kind of worked up to a little bigger clubs, and then been in theaters around the area, and so it's been like a slower thing than some people might think, but
I always like to ask, and this is my last question because I know you guys got to get ready for the show and everything. But I always like to ask artists this: what was that one gig you did when you were first starting out that you kind of looked at each other and you went, "Okay, this is the worst it could ever get, and everything is going to be onward and upward from here. But right now, this is pretty bad." What was the worst gig that you can remember? The location, what you were doing. Wow, we're here, and this is.
Yeah.
What was that moment? Do you remember?
We've had a few.
We definitely had. I think there was. I mean, we brought it up maybe a few times, but there was one show in particular. Do we remember which state that was in? I think we tried to block it out, but
it was that bad, huh?
Well, it was one of our first interviews that we ever did. And it was just a college station, a couple college kids that reached out like, hey, let's do an interview. Like, right. I know you guys are coming into town. And so we the day before the show, we drove to this college and showed up and did it like our first interview. Like, well, these are microphones. And like, oh, people want to know who we are. Like, great. Oh my gosh. Like, I mean, that didn't happen. So we do our interview and the next day the show happens. And when we walked on stage, it's a really weird feeling. Walking on stage now and knowing exactly how many people are going to be in the audience.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't the case.
Right.
You walk on stage, you had a moment where your like back is turned, and then you turn and you kind of go, okay, who showed up? So in that particular show, we turned around and there was only 2 people, and it was the 2 people that interviewed us.
Oh,
and
that was it.
So then we just went right from. I mean, so yeah, for me, a set has always been this thing that I need to battle and fight and win. So that first song, I played a song called Ode to Sleep. And that first song, I just like, I don't know, I wanted to be done. And then the second song, I was like, you know what though? These 2 people, I don't know who they are now, I don't know where they are. But they're going to look around, not only obviously they see that they're the only ones there, and it's kind of underwhelming. But we're going to give them a show that they'll never forget, because not only because we're going to work really hard for them, but because they're the only two people there, they'll never forget this.
Yeah, and
so it's just a mentality throughout the course of the set. You realize that this is still something you have to battle. But that was definitely a low point.
They're telling that story to this day. I saw 21 Pilots and it was just me and one other person. Yeah. Me and one other person.
I want to find those guys.
Yeah. If you're out there, send a tweet.
Yeah.
You know, at 21 Pilots. You know, get a hold of them.
Yeah.
Hit us up.
Tyler, pleasure, man.
Yeah,
keep doing what you're doing, please. Please
sure.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, man.
Josh.
Thank you.
Congratulations, guys.
Thanks.
You deserve it. 21 Pilots, everybody.